What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals Comics, and today we are asking the question, is FOMO ruining comic books? You might be surprised by my answer. Before we get into the video, if you are subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so and check out all the awesome links below, including how you can become a member of the channel either via patreon.com or by YouTube. By clicking the join button below, check out my official Journals Comics merch link, as well as our Comic Book Canon YouTube channel link, where we have live shows every Friday night. Go give us a sub. Also, as always, it is A1 Wednesday, every single Wednesday. So I am rocking the A1 Comics shirt. A1 Comics info is below. Check out their IG link and go follow them on Instagram. For those that don't know, they have live Instagram sales every Wednesday and every Friday night. They start at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern, and they run for 3 hours. They go absolutely ham. They have an auction item every night. They give away mystery boxes, and sometimes they even have like raffle prizes. If you buy the mystery box, you get a raffle spin and you can win certain extra items and stuff. They got discount walls, and they have usually themes for each sale, but then, you know, outside of the theme, they just have massive books. CGC slab books, vintage books, new releases. If you guys are not following A1 Comics on Instagram and checking out their sales, you are absolutely missing out. So please, go do that. Now, let's get right into this video, everyone. So, is FOMO ruining comic books? At this point in time, many of us as collectors are aware of what FOMO means. Fear of missing out. All right, it's pretty basic. Fear of missing out on the next hot book, the next big thing. There is negative connotation surrounding this acronym, but I'm here to tell you today that FOMO is more complex than I think a lot of people care to admit. And it's not just this black and white thing that's essentially ruining comic books, right? So let's just start diving into it and talk about some key elements, okay? So when we talk about fear of missing out, we have to correlate it directly to the investing side of collecting for the most part, all right? Because when you think about the fear of missing out, what is that fear? What are they missing? Well, they're not necessarily in fear of missing out on being able to buy the book, because even when a book gets hot, you could buy it. It's just going to be a lot more expensive. So usually this correlates to the fear of missing out on a book at a lower price point, a lower fair market value before it gets hot and increases usually drastically in value. You know, you got to look at the fact that sometimes people are willing to spend, you know, $40, $50 on a book that maybe a week before it was $50. Some people simply want to spend that money because, one, they can, and because, two, maybe they enjoy, you know, speculating on the hot books, or not even speculating, collecting the hot books. Maybe they're a big fan of the MCU and they see that this book got hot because we just got a character announcement. They're not going out and buying the book because they still want to grab it while it's at a value that they think they can flip it at. Maybe they don't care about flipping at all. Maybe they're just willing to spend that money right now, even if it's 5, 6, 7, 8 times what it was a week before, simply because they want these books that correlate to the films or whatnot for their personal collection. So is that necessarily FOMO? Not really. I wouldn't call it FOMO. I would call it a collector just being willing to purchase what they want to purchase, no matter the price point. A lot of people have deep pocketbooks, and they're able to do that. So most people who speculate make purchasing decisions at least partially due to investment factors, meaning they are influenced to make decisions based on the possibility of increasing that investment. So again, you look at people that are willing to just spend big money on a book because they're avid collectors and they just want it in their collection, even if maybe that fair market value might drop in the near future. Maybe they don't really care about that, but then you got people that to some extent care about the investment side of it, which means they care and they're conscious of ROI, which means return on investment. And that is a key factor of their purchasing decisions. All right. Most people who collect for other reasons other than investing often do not factor in the hotness or the trending elements as influencing variables for their purchasing decisions outside of like what I just said. Maybe they just care about it because it correlates to something that's going on in the MCU and they want it because it's hot, but they still don't care about fair market value or, ROI in getting a return later down the line. All right. What does this mean? It means that FOMO is almost directly correlated to any collector that cares to some degree about ROI, return on investment, who see comic collecting as an investment decision. Okay? So, does this make FOMO a bad thing? And the answer simply is no, not at its core. All right? Is it bad for a stock market investor to, still invest in a stock that's already been on fire? No, right? But anyone who sees either a comic book or a stock that is already trending upwards, anybody who sees that and wants to invest at it at that point in time, they are taking a larger risk of the possibility of losing money. But oftentimes with more risks, there is the possibility of more reward. So again, investors can go into any market and see a book already getting hot. And they may have FOMO, fear of missing out, because they don't want to miss out on that book continuing to increase. You can see it how people buy stocks. If there's a stock, look at Bitcoin or these cryptocurrencies. If there's Dogecoin, a lot of people, when it was getting hot, they didn't want to miss out. They're like, man, I better buy now because it's going to the moon. That's a bit of FOMO, right? And now Dogecoin has plummeted. So a lot of those people that bought when it was on the upward trend and didn't buy, before it became hot, those people that had the FOMO once it got hot, they've lost a lot of money. Now, if you are an avid investor and you are a responsible investor, you're going to realize that you knew that risk before going into it. So even though your decision was based on FOMO, the fear of missing out, the fact that you lost money now, you should be able to live with because you made a conscious decision. So that's where FOMO at its core isn't necessarily bad, as long as you are educated to the risk involved, right? Now, let's look at a couple of factors of how FOMO drives the comic book market. Well, one thing, the increase in FOMO speaks to the increase of investors and investments, meaning just monies coming in to the hobby. And that's a good thing. People having FOMO with comic books because they don't want to miss out on the next hot thing means that more people are in it because they don't want to miss out on being able to capitalize and earning a return on investment. So what does that mean? More money is being brought into the comic book market, and that's essentially, from a business standpoint and an industry standpoint, that is a very, very good thing. Because the more money that comes into this hobby and into this industry, the healthier it is. Whether that's on the primary market, on the primary retail market, or on the secondary market. Whether it's we're speculating on new books that are getting hot because they might get optioned, whether it's from Boom Studios or Berserker or even DC Black Label, the Nice House on the Lake or whatever. Or it's, back issue books on the secondary market, whether it's Blue Chip Keys or whether it's books like, West Coast Avengers 45 that once we saw White Vision in the MCU, it boomed. And a $10 to $20 book went to a $150 book literally overnight, right? Money is being pulled into this industry, and it's a good thing. It helps the publishers, it helps the distributors, it helps the LCSs, and it helps the secondary market overall. And and in turn, it's a circular effect here. It in turn helps the collectors and the investors, because what are they doing then? If books are continuing to increase because more money's coming in, they are achieving a return on investment. And that's a good thing, right? Another factor of FOMO is when, and this is what I was trying to talk about in my top 10 video that I did last week, where sometimes the book could go from a $2, $3, $5 book to a $30, $40 book overnight without this gradual supply and demand incline, where demand slowly grows beyond supply, and you see this gradual incline of a bell-shaped curve for a fair market value, sometime because there could be very few options, say listed on eBay or online for sale, that even though the book was selling maybe for $3, $4, $5, for the last however many months, there's only 2 listings now. We got an announcement, or we saw a character, we know something's happening in the MCU. A couple of people, sellers, list this book on eBay for $25 or $30 as a buy it now. And somebody that sees this character, oh, they're in the MCU, I gotta go to eBay, and there's not a lot listed, and they make that $25 buy it now or that $30 buy it now purchase. It's FOMO, it's fear of missing out. Because, most likely, let me say here, because they want to get that book thinking that, well, I want to be the first to grab it. I know it was selling for cheaper before, but I'm just going to go ahead and buy it for $25, $30 now because I believe in the potential of this book continuing to increase and give me a return on investment. Usually, if a book pertains to something in the MCU, more and more people over the next days, more and more people, or even in the next hours, after an announcement or a reveal, more of those books will be flooding the market, and you'll see more and more on eBay, on Mercari, online for sale, and maybe still people are going to start paying more and more for that book, and they're going to start catching on. All right? So those are just a couple of examples of what drives FOMO and what can drive the value of these books up, and what can, of course, bring in more demand that then trumps the supply. I think to sum all this up, what we have to understand here, and I'm not going to go too much into this because I'm going to make another video, which I might release next week, about how to stay away from bad FOMO. All right? But I'm going to sum it up today to say this. FOMO is not a bad thing as long as you understand what you're getting into. And it always comes back to me saying a few key things that I say in almost every video I make, no matter what I'm talking about, when it pertains to comic book collecting. Educate yourself. Do your research. You can have fear of missing out and want to hop on that next best thing in hopes of a ROI, of a return on investment, while still doing your research, right? Okay? Always do your research. Know what you're getting into. And then collect what you're passionate about. In the good words of our friend OMG Chris, rest in peace. Collect what you're passionate about. Don't just have FOMO over something that is hot because it's hot, unless you only care about investing and you're willing to take the risk. You can have FOMO and have the fear of missing out over a Spider-Man speculation because you love Spider-Man, or a Loki speculation because you love Loki, right? Understand that you have to have some type of love in whatever you're buying, even if it's just the love of playing the game of investing. But you have to be willing to take those risks, because there's always a risk involved when it comes to hot books, speculation, and wanting to make a decision with a bit of fear of missing out and waiting too long to when that book increases more and more in value and you sit there and say, dang it, I missed out. But let me tell you all one last thing before I end this video. The one thing that I believe is more detrimental to the comic book hobby and the comic book industry than fear of missing out, the one thing that is more detrimental than fear of missing out is being butthurt that you missed out. It's those people that are mad about missing out. So what is that? M-A-B-O, MABO. We're going to start a new acronym. MABO. I know it doesn't. FOMO sounds so much better. But those that are mad that after the fact they missed out, and then they point the finger and play the blame game. Oh, it was speculators manipulating the market. I talk about this all the time. It was Key Collector app just, pushing it to get his cronies to flip books, behind the scenes. All these conspiracy theories. You missed out. You didn't have it, say it was a new book. You didn't have the book on your pull list. You didn't secure the book with the previews order to where you could have bought it at $35 undercover price. And now the book's hot. and you're mad that you didn't buy 5 copies for yourself because you didn't do your homework on why there's speculation around this book, and now you're mad that you missed out on it and you want to blame other people in the industry. That is far more detrimental than people having this fear of missing out and wanting to buy the next hot thing before they feel it gets out of reach, right? You win some, you lose some, though, everyone. There's going to be times where we all want to speculate on books and we're going to miss out, but that's okay. As long as you do your research and keep collecting how you love, as long as you understand that every purchasing decision that you make needs to be a smart one, do your homework, do your due diligence, understand the risk involved, you're going to come out okay. FOMO is going to be something that we can keep in check and that we can have fun with within this hobby, because we can use it to drive the hobby. We can use it to get those chances of buying books that can bring us ROI, but sometimes we lose, and that's okay. All right, so that is my video for today. Again, FOMO, fear of missing out, is essentially healthy for the hobby as long as we are making good quality sound decisions and we are loving the hobby that we are participating in. I want to know all of your thoughts in the comments below. I will be making a follow-up video on how to be even smarter when it comes to FOMO and how to not make bad decisions. We'll be diving more into detail. Then catch that video most likely next week. Leave your thoughts and comments below, everyone. And again, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please do so. And one more time, A1 Comics, big shout out to A1 Comics. They ship to all 50 states. So you don't have to be local to participate in their IG live sales. I'm telling you, give them a follow. Check out their website as well, a-1comics.com. They have some awesome books on their website for sale as well. And also, if you are in the Northern California area, I'm telling you guys, take a weekend, take a drive, even if you're 2 or 3 hours away. Take a drive to one of the 3 A1 Comics locations. You will not be disappointed. Thank you all for watching. Until next time.